What this all tells me is they don't care about you, me, or scholars.
No.
Or the critical audience. We don't matter. They care about the flock, the sheep that are already there. They just, how do I keep what I have built? Because this damage control, we messed up. We lost this whole debate. We messed up, we're done for it. We're imploded. Our castle is to the ground. How do we keep what we still have left? So they're literally lying to their audience. That's why he took the video down, people. He took the video down because that video was embarrassing. It's not about him misrepresenting me. It's about the mistakes he made. The endless. Can we count how many mistakes he made in that video? I can't.
There's a lot.
That's how bad that video was. Forget about him misrepresenting me. That's not why he took the video down. He took the video down because, number one, he showed Alexandrinus on the screen that has the longer ending on it with a bigger gap
than the rest of the other manuscripts. Yeah.
And then his argument was, these ones have a longer gap at the end. The other Gospels don't have this. The other Gospels all have this.
Exactly. Neil, Wes Huff has made a bunch of noise. Joe Rogan, Wes Huff, Ruslan, Gavin Ortlund, forgive me for butchering it, Alex O'Connor with his recent video. We have some stuff to discuss. The last thing I've seen lately is a video response from Wes apologizing for incorrectly calling you dishonest or being dishonest in your critique.
So this is partly true, but mostly false. Is just being dishonest with the ancient data.
You
got famous overnight for showing that Billy Carson was lying about the Sinai Bible. Here you are, lying about the Sinai Bible too.
The earliest copies that leave out the longer ending have an unusual feature. The copies of these earliest manuscripts leave deliberate blank sections, a feature we don't find them doing at the end of the other Gospels.
Or really just your examination on Danny Jones' podcast.
Right.
And for saying you're mostly wrong. Wes is able to tell everyone how wrong he is, but he can't humble himself to say how a critical thinker like you, he was wrong for making the video against you. Instead...
Or that I was correct.
Or that you were right about that.
It's never that person's correct. It's always what I meant to say.
Or I made a mistake.
The person's never correct, though.
He took the video down.
Think about this. I want people to go back and check. People's criticisms are never correct. It's always, well, what I meant to say was, well, what really happened was, here's how it actually should have went.
Right.
It's never, you're right. My bad, they got me.
Okay, guess what? That's what happened to me. I got clearly poisoned the well by Inspiring Philosophy. When he did the video response about me being a liar, two things I mistakenly made and I admitted was wrong and apologized saying, look, my bad, I made a mistake. I have no problem saying I'm wrong about something. But what did he do? The Inanna's Descent conversation, we got the chronology on when he fished information from Josh. Never went on record to say whether or not he agrees now that she was dead for 3 days and 3 nights. Does he? We don't know. It's kind of like that. So here's the thing. Even if you may have been correct there, Neil, we don't agree with your conclusion that the physical body and the appearances were really implied by Mark, because he says, go to Galilee where you will see me.
The angel said he's risen, yeah.
Yeah, but truth is, the text ends with, they told no one. But Matthew says they did end up going to Galilee. So what they do is they harmonize and find a way to go. The tradition indicates that they knew they were going there. Jesus implies to meet me there. Therefore, they went there. And then some scholars come in and go, actually, there may be some theological implications that the 12 were not really the good guys. They're dummies, and they never got it. There are some who hypothesize. I'm not saying this is the answer, but we live in the nuance.
Right.
What if the 12 were never meant to actually meet him, but one named Paul was?
That's kind of where,
I don't know what the answer is.
No, I think there's a lot of Christians that felt that way, especially when you look at the quote-unquote Gnostic side. They love Paul, and they don't really like the Judean Christians.
There's the rift, right?
Yeah.
So what if Mark is in a way polemicizing, constantly saying these knuckleheads never get it, and there is one who does, and guess what? His His stuff is baptismal. You put on the clothing of Christ in Paul's theology. The very first scene of Jesus is being baptized and the Spirit of God descending. That's what every believer experiences.
I just thought of something. You may or may want to cut this out, but that stuff you gave me the other day when we were recording, I drank it and I was
magic. Dude, okay, good idea. So, I definitely get in the fog. I know you write these scripts all the time.
Even when I got home past our recordings, I was still on the zone right through doing my video editing for the next 6 hours.
Yeah, so Magic Mind, they sent me, this is it. They sent me, here, you grab one.
Let me get
don't drink
one.
it yet, don't drink it yet. We'll drink it together here in just a second. We'll take it as a shot. There are different ways you can drink this. You can put it in a cup and mix it in with like milk and other things, different ways of doing it.
Ooh,
but
green tea.
It's all natural. Like this is 100% natural and absolutely good for you. You know how the other day you drank this and you had energy afterwards? Sometimes
we
coffee.
were killing it in that episode.
Oh, 100%. Coffee crashes after a while. And I drink this every morning when I get up. And bro, I'm scripting all day. I'm ready to record. I'm calling you up, telling you, come over. Let's do another recording.
Agave, passion fruit, olive oil.
Yeah.
Christing.
Christing. Dude, and like caffeine crashes because it blocks the receptors after a while that make you tired. And then eventually, you're crashing. You're tired again.
Oh, it's got lion's mane too. That's the stuff that's like the mushroom shit that.
So I don't know all the science in here.
That's literally, that's what it is. Lion's mane.
I know that they've had for 10 plus years, so many like doctors, scientists behind like the research involved in this mix, this shot. Let's take it. Let's shot.
All right. I was going to say, well,
cheers.
Say no more.
Let's burning purple Christing. And it's actually, for healthy stuff, tastes pretty good.
That was good.
Absolutely. So this is going to help us think as we go deep into the Wes Huff beef
Kicks
and
in
drama.
quick too.
It does kick in quick, and later on you'll still be good to go, even if the caffeine crashes from the coffee. Also at night, I'll take their sleeping stuff. They have the sleep and the energy. So you're like 24 hours.
For the ride?
Take it for the ride, bro. And here, take more than that, dude. I'm like, Joe Rogan will be like handing products out to people. Dude, take those, start trying them at night. They'll help you sleep faster and good, like deep sleep.
Uppers and downers?
Uppers and downers, baby. Look, if you guys want to try out Magic Mind, it's magicmind.com/MythVisionJan to get 45% off the bundle of your energy. Your energy and your sleep. Don't miss it. I'm telling you, I really appreciate Magic Mind for sending this stuff because it's been a new routine. It's like a ritual of mine. Wake up, go to sleep. And it's amazing what it's done for me. So
that's how you got your stash.
That's how I got my stash.
Well, all right, back to what we were saying.
Yeah. So
I want to get into what happened last night.
You need to, man. We need to know.
Last night, Alex O'Connor dropped a video, and people were waiting for this response because he destroys Wes's presentation on Joe Rogan. He does a thorough takedown of various things he said throughout just like you and I did and Apologia did. Everyone was harping on it. Kip Davis did his own video on it.
Yep.
Everybody was on it, and it was like well worth criticizing. There was so much nonsense that was said in that Joe Rogan podcast. One of the things he criticized him for was the Isaiah scroll thing being word for word. And everyone knows that's nonsense. But Gavin Ortlund,
not everyone. That's the trickery of apologetics it's just the spelling.
Right.
Gavin
That's
Ortlund.
what I'm saying. Gavin Ortlund came through and said, wait. Wes Huff is untouched by this criticism.
Right.
Because even though the word for word thing might not be the way that he should have said it, meaning for meaning is still perfectly intact.
Right.
And then it's like, when I heard that for the first time, I just remember it being like, that's not what he said.
Exactly not.
To Joe Rogan.
And we all know that that's not what Joe Rogan interpreted it as.
He took it as, whoa.
Exactly.
Word for word. So Gavin Ortlund's little defense apologetic of Wes Huff was completely crap. Not only that, and I'm going to circle back to Gavin Ortlund.
Right.
Because there was a bigger fish to fry in Alex's video that I think should have went first. He should have opened right up with this statement right here. Wes did his own apology video, response video. And Wes tells his audience, oh, did I make mistakes? Yes, I did. But what I meant to said was, He never says, yeah, all the criticisms are correct. Instead he sort of does this double down.
He was right all along.
I actually knew what I meant to say. So let me just fix it real quick for you guys.
Right.
My audience, before you guys think I'm a liar or something. And then he puts on the screen a source from Gleason Archer. And I'm showing
That's a
him
legit academic, bona fide.
And he goes, what I meant to say when I was on Joe Rogan was I was actually thinking about this verse in my head. And then the quote is literally, even though the 2 copies of Isaiah discovered in Qumran Cave 1 near the Dead Sea in 1947 were 1,000 years earlier than the oldest dated manuscript previously known, 980 AD, they proved to be word for word identical with our standard Hebrew Bible in 95% of the text.
So just let's walk people through
How would you
this.
read that? How would you? Before I even get to Wes,
if I took the
you
Hebrew
read that
Bible,
for the first time,
right? If I took the Hebrew Bible we have, right, from the Masoretic, the Leningrad Codex.
But what did you just hear that I just said?
95% of it matches.
That's it. That's a perfect exegesis.
Which means 5% of it does not match.
That's exactly what it says. There's no other way to interpret that.
There's no word for word.
That was one sentence. I didn't say 2 sentences. What does Wes do? He goes, oh, here's my citation of the source that I found. Previously, and I'll just skip ahead, where 1,000 years earlier, dated manuscript previously known, they proved to be a word-for-word identical. Then he pauses.
But let me tell you why I said what I said. What was going on in the back of my mind was a quote that I was recalling from Old Testament scholar Gleason Archer's A Survey of the Old Testament, where he talks about the copies of Isaiah found in Qumran Cave 1 in 1947, that they were 1,000 years earlier than the oldest dated manuscripts previously known, proving to be word for word identical with our standard Hebrew Bible, and more than 95% identical to the Masoretic Text, specifically the Leningrad Codex, calling it almost letter for letter with that manuscript. Also, I had only a few months previously to this discussion with Rogan, read Old Testament textual critic Emmanuel Tove's Textual Criticism of the Hebrew Bible, where he breaks down the variants of 1Q Isaiah B and compares them to the Leningrad Codex, describing the differences with the word minutia. Granted, both Archer and Tove are talking about 1Q Isaiah B, and my statement to Rogan was specifically in context to 1Q Isaiah A, but that is what was going through my mind when I had the conversation.
So, curiously, Wes begins by admitting that he was recalling 2 quotes, both of which are actually talking about a different text, 1Q Isaiah B, and not the Isaiah scroll, which is 1Q Isaiah A. But if you were looking closely, you might have seen that even here in his response video, he still misquotes Gleason Archer. Listen again, and I'll jump in.
They were 1,000 years earlier than the oldest dated manuscripts previously known, proving to be word for word identical with our standard Hebrew Bible, and more than 95% identical to the Masoretic Text.
Pause. It's not word for word identical with our standard Hebrew Bible and more than 95% identical to the Masoretic Text. It's word for word identical with our standard Hebrew Bible in more than 95% of that text. Of course, saying something is identical in 95% of the text just means that it's 95% identical. But Wes misquotes Archer, separating the word-for-word comment from the 95% comment.
Proving to be word for word identical with our standard Hebrew Bible.
And in more than 95% of the text, and then he takes the word but out, in 1Q Isaiah, he fixes the text.
Of that scholar.
He fixed the text, moved words around, changed the word in for and, gives you a pause to make it seem like there's 2 sentences in there. He's hoping that his audience is not reading the words on the screen.
Let's pause for 1 second. 95%, this actual bona fide expert in this text is saying they're similar, 95% similar, which means 5% he is admitting is not similar.
It's not similar.
What is Wes saying? What is he trying to say?
Wes was trying to say that the 1Q Isaiah scroll is word for word identical with the Hebrew Bible. Pause. And the 1Q Isaiah scroll is also 95% in line with the Leningrad Codex. He took the Leningrad Codex, separated it from Hebrew Bible, even though they're the same thing. Spoiler alert, Leningrad Codex is the Hebrew Bible.
Right.
He tried to make it seem like there are 2 different things going on. One of them, the Leningrad Codex is about 95% of what the Isaiah scroll says.
Got it.
But the other Hebrew Bible, that's nearly identical word for word.
Right.
If you don't know what the Leningrad Codex is, you just got duped by Wes Huff.
Got it.
He's hoping you don't know what Leningrad Codex means, and then you get duped for that.
Honestly, it's wild, because for me, what popped out, because I didn't catch this, what you described, I caught that something was happening, but didn't get the impact of like what the implications are, because the Gavin quote, where he literally leaves out.
That's what I was going to go back to. Yeah. Go ahead. You take that.
No. This is great, because I'd have to read it. You have it on the screen. If you can pull it up, prepared to read what he left out, that would be awesome.
Good idea.
So here's what happened. I'm going to give you a chronology, if you will, of what took place. Alex O'Connor initially critiques, and we talked, right? Me and Alex were talking, and he's like, whoa, man, have you ever seen this with the comments like this? It was really, really odd to see this kind of wild virality of coping, in my view.
Yeah.
I'll use the word coping.
It is the perfect coping on the internet that I've ever seen.
The only other example I can think of the kind of comments that I've seen come from Dawa gangs. No BS, like Dawa apologetics from Islam. So Christians, just so you know what you're looking like, the ones that are doing this, act the same way that the apologetic type community of the Dawa gang is literally acting like. So just keep that in mind. Like, that's why I don't see any difference. I don't know why personally AP is butted up with David Wood and doesn't realize that both groups have this toxic mentality in respect to apologetics. That's my personal perception on the outside, right? Now back to the point. Gavin brings up this as if it's not a gotcha, that half of verse 9 in chapter 2 of Isaiah, in the great Isaiah scroll, and verse 10 are missing from the Isaiah scroll. He just wants to point out that it is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There you go. Why is Alex bringing this up? I mean, come on. It's in the Dead Sea Scrolls, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Not realizing that when you speak to experts like our friend and truly bona fide gangster Dead Sea Scroll scholar Kip Davis, who reads these literal papyri, like he's not like just reading a Hebrew text. He's looking at the primary sources, and he could see the epic. He could tell by the way that the letters are. He can read these languages even when they're different and older and younger. He knows all this.
Yeah, and there's a difference in the old Hebrew style. The yods look like bobs. They're really confusing.
Bro,
it's hard to
he
read.
was part of helping Alex with this in this last recording. Shout out to our bro. So here's the deal. Gavin comes in after Alex made that first critique about half of verse 9 and verse 10 being gone and missing from Isaiah, comes in and goes, it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Nice try, buddy. Well, why is it in later scrolls? Because these redactors and scribes are adding to the Bible, meaning it's not fixed yet. You don't have a canon. You don't have a sacred text that is standard and this is it. They're adding in material. That's why you can find it in later Isaiah scroll fragments in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's not in Great Isaiah. And according to Kip Davis, there is no evidence. So for the commenters who are coping in Alex's latest video that are critiquing me for making this comment, they're going, well, how do you know that the Great Isaiah scroll just didn't copy what was in the earlier one that did have it? What? Kip's like, there's no data to back that up. There's no evidence to support the idea that half of verse 9 and verse 10 were really in this earlier than greater Isaiah scroll. It's not there. They added it later. That means they're adding things like they did the ending of Mark, like they did with likely in John's gospel with the fornicating woman or the adulterous woman or the writing in the sand. That was not original in John.
Yeah.
The long ending was not original to Mark. They're adding to the Bible.
Right. So Gavin Ortlund had a blunder that was the reason why I think the Wes Huff needed to be said first is because this is what the whole entire thing was about.
And he had time to think about this.
He had time to think about it, and it's an edited video, pre-recorded.
Yeah. He's
looking at the text and he's going, instead of going, shit, he's right. I read this wrong. It was in my head. I read this wrong years ago. And then I went into Joe Rogan thinking that this guy said word for word. But now I'm looking at the text and it's saying in 95%.
Yeah, 95.
Instead of saying that to his audience and teaching and educating his audience as the scholar he's trying to become.
Right.
What he does is he lies. So that was like, I just thought that was so crazy. But Gavin Ortlund made an equally dishonest, blatant lie to his audience, which is what Alex covered very greatly in his video last night. And Gavin Ortlund puts on the screen a source from DSS collections, Dead Sea Scrolls collections / Isaiah. And it says, for example, the second half of verse 9 and all of verse 10 in the present Masoretic version of chapter 2 are absent from the great Isaiah scroll in the Israel's Museum's full manuscript that you see here online. The same verses, however, have been included in other versions of the book of Isaiah in the scrolls found near the Dead Sea.
That's where it stops, right? He doesn't go further?
No, he says the next thing too. And then it says, and the Hebrew text from which the ancient Greek version or Septuagint was translated, 3rd century to 1st BCE. Then he stops the passage. Why?
Yeah, why did Gavin leave that out?
You want to know what the next passage says? This confirms that these verses, although early enough, were a late addition to the ancient and more original version reflected in the great Isaiah scroll. That vindicates Alex O'Connor's first video.
Exactly.
So Gavin Ortlund saw this and went, I can't show my audience that.
Yeah, because
I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't support my buddy Wes.
He thought he was going to get... Did you not realize you're debating someone with 1 million subscribers?
But not only that, like, you're talking with real scholars.
And there's experts who are watching this and paying attention.
You don't think we're going to go and look at the sources?
You thought you're going to get by doing this?
Right.
So this is what this whole thing tells me. And we still have to get into what happened to you and me and the fallout.
we do.
Though, just to give a little precursor of where we're heading, what this all tells me is they don't care about you, me, or scholars.
No.
Or the critical audience. We don't matter. They care about the flock, the sheep that are already there. They just, how do I keep what I have built? Because this damage we messed up. We lost this whole debate. We messed up. We're done for. We were imploded. Our castle is to the ground. How do we keep what we still have left? So they're literally lying to their audience. They're lying to their audience and trying to hope that you don't check into this stuff. Yeah. Hope that you don't watch this video right now on MythVision.
Oh, no doubt. Look, you know what's funny, ironic, before we get to you and me and what happened and all this, is I'm watching Cameron Bertuzzi, who's Catholic now, right?
Yeah, now he's jumping in.
He's jumping in, but what he's doing is he's critiquing the Protestants.
I know, I was surprised to see that.
It's really fun to watch for us because we're like popcorn chewing skeptics over here going, oh my gosh, watch this. So what's happening is, okay, Neil. Okay, Alex. All right, Kip, we get it. You guys have shown that there's, not perfect inerrancy and, scripture is not like perfectly kept by scribes. And we have a lot of issues with the text here. We need to start realizing where's our authority. Is our authority in the text, which isn't reliably perfect and there's a lot of holes? Or is it in the church?
This is why the Catholics and Orthodox are like loving this.
Yeah, they love this.
They love when we pick apart the Bible against Protestants.
Tear those Protestants a new one.
They just go, well, we just have our tradition.
Bingo.
And our tradition says this, and this is what we go with. The Bible can have mistakes. So what?
So they love this.
The hand of God is guiding our church, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Man wrote the Bible. Like, that's what they'll say.
Yeah. And
it was inspired, don't get me wrong, but the errors, we don't care. We're Catholics. We're the church.
The church,
or the Orthodox is like that too.
Right. And I think
they are unaffected by these arguments,
without a doubt,
because they can just go, we appeal to the church.
We appeal to the church. We've seen that with other ortho bros and all that, and it never ends. So I thought I'd make the comment. The next move is Protestants converting to a more church is our authority. Argue with the church.
That's kind of how the Anglicans are already at. They're already at that stage. The Anglican Church is like the third orthodoxy type of they dress like bishops and stuff. They still have they still do their rituals and all that stuff. They still do the communions.
Isn't Stephen Anglican? I thought he was. Stephen Boyce.
He is, yeah. So is your other boy. He did your intro.
Speaking of Jonathan. Jonathan. Let's shift into this, Stephen Boyce and Wes Huff and the beef with you. I did my last
video. Great segue, by the way.
Yeah, this is perfect because Anglicans on the block, right?
Yeah.
We did our hit back, right? Wes did this video. It was embarrassingly wrong. He had the actual Vaticanus long ending in it, which debunked his entire point because the Vaticanus text that you screenshot and showed the circle of.
The top manuscript Wesley Huff uses for his argument that the gaps at the end signify that Mark should have the longer ending is, in fact, the 5th century manuscript, Codex Alexandrinus, that does have the longer ending. So Wesley Huff is actually throwing on the screen the manuscript with the longer ending, not even realizing that he defeated his own argument.
Had the longest ending gap available in it, and the long ending was inserted. So what's the gap? Why didn't they calculate when they wrote this to make sure it landed at the end of the page?
Right.
It's just so
we made
ridiculous.
this point on your channel, and the video did pretty well. What is it at, like 150,000?
Something, yeah,
like
it's
that.
pretty good.
The video did pretty well. It got people's attention. There's a bunch of React videos out there, which I thought were pretty good videos.
Yeah.
But what happened was, instead of Wes making any statement at all and acknowledging anything,
Nothing public at all.
nothing happened. He sends Stephen Stephen, who's an expert, or he's a scholar.
I actually,
He's a PhD,
while I don't agree with Stephen, I think
he's a
he's
scholar.
more qualified to talk about this than
He came
Wes.
in, and I thought we had a good conversation, and he totally was like, "You guys are right. There's tons of mistakes here. Why did he have Alexandrinus on the screen? That one has the long ending."
He admitted that. Yeah.
That was like, there's so many blunders in that video. We didn't even get to the Christmas part.
Yeah.
Which is like,
No one's gotten to the Christmas part.
That video is so bad for Wes. People don't even.
There's
so much to talk about in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That, let alone the hour and plus it took us.
Dude.
There's just blunder after blunder after. And he's just, towards the end of the video, you just wonder, is he just making stuff up? Talking about Saturnalia sources being late. What does that even mean?
Where do you get this from? Yeah.
Anyways, so he takes the video down. Now, that to me tells you that
He was wrong.
he was wrong, we were right.
We needed vocalization of that because I really want to help the sheep. Michael Jones, I'm referencing how I called his audience sheep. Now you know why. I'm not backpedaling that. I am doubling down. They are the sheep of sheep.
Yeah.
They follow their masters. Their masters are the apologists.
Look at Ruslan.
I mean, there's just no doubt.
Look at Ruslan. He plays the Gavin Ortlund video as if God himself is in the video declaring the truth to us. And this is objective truth coming from Gavin Ortlund. Don't worry about checking into it or weighing the arguments between Alex O'Connor and Gavin. Gavin said it I was watching Ruslan playing Gavin's video, and he was going, "Oh my God, Alex is done for." What? Did you just see what I saw?
He didn't watch it.
I didn't hear anything good from Gavin in that video. And they're all like, "Yo, Gavin Ortlund, he destroyed Alex O'Connor." What? What did you just watch? They don't care about the arguments. They're not gonna go, "Well, let's see. Alex said this. Gavin said this. Let's weigh these two arguments. Let's look at what other scholars say. Let's look at what this says. Let's look at what that says." None of them did that. They just go, Alex said something. Gavin responded. We win. That's how they are. And that's exactly how they operate.
You saw my comment section
They
with
just need
you.
any response at all. Anytime. That's the advantage they have over us.
Yep.
We have to come thorough. We have to show the Isaiah scroll on the screen and circle it with red. We have to notice how I brought the Vaticanus and the Alexandrinus, and I circled it in red
to let
so that
them know.
The audience can see. We have to do that.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that. Gavin Ortlund can just go, "Yeah, the longer ending does actually include in Vaticanus. Therefore, we're correct." That's it. Nothing on the screen. Doesn't have to show you if he's right.
Nope.
Doesn't have to cite anything. You're just and his audience will just go, "Gavin said it, so it's true."
Right. Or
They
Mike
have
Winger's like that. Mike Winger will do a video on the long ending of Mark, and I think if correct, I'm hip firing here, could be wrong. Totally okay if I'm wrong, but I think I recall a video where he was addressing the ending of Mark, and he flirts with this ending being a truly authentic thing. And I'm like, when we had talked with Steven, I'm like, bro, it literally reintroduces the day of the week like 4 or 5 verses later. You don't do that.
They have the advantage where they do not have to go half as hard as we have to go.
No, we have to go so hard.
We have to demonstrate to get them to go, "Okay, you got that."
All right.
They just have to go, "Well, I said that I have faith, and so do you." So, and they go, "Okay, I got you."
It's even beyond that, Neil, because they have to say it themselves for their own audience to believe us. And this is why I had Steven come on, bro. Like, yeah, we wanted to talk about the long ending of Mark. Yeah, not saying that isn't the reason we wanted to talk to Steven. We clearly wanted to dive into this. We had done research and prepared for this discussion as non-experts, but going to primary sources, looking at experts, seeing patristic evidence, manuscript evidence, what does the evidence seem to imply, right? And Steven was a good sport about that discussion. I really appreciated him for that. What I really needed to capitalize on was Wes was wrong, right?
Right.
Because if you go look at my comments, they don't think so.
No,
they don't have a clue.
And it seemed like the public came away with this. Wes wasn't really wrong. He just kind of misrepresented Neil. He felt bad about it. That was not, to me, I don't care that you misrepresented. You misrepresented me. There might have been a decent reason for it, because remember he responded.
He said he had only a
short, whatever. But that's not why he took the video down, people. He took the video down because that video was embarrassing. It's not about him misrepresenting me. It's about the mistakes he made. The endless. Can we count how many mistakes he made in that video? I can't.
There's a lot. We could have probably gone through, but
25. 25 like objective, not like his opinion's wrong here and I disagree. 25 things that he said in that video that you can just check and see objectively he's false on this.
Right.
That's how bad that video was. Forget about him misrepresenting me. That's not why he took the video down. He took the video down because, number one, he showed Alexandrinus on the screen that has the longer ending on it with a bigger gap
than the rest of the other manuscripts. Yeah.
And then his argument was, these ones have a longer gap at the end. The other Gospels don't have this. The other Gospels all have this.
Exactly. Not just
the Gospels. And then Stephen had to clean up his mess and go, no, what he meant to say was,
he was talking about this one Vaticanus only.
Daniel, Old Testament book.
Right, but then he brings it to Mark in Vaticanus only. He doesn't. So only in the Vaticanus one did he do the calculation thing to try and act like.
Yeah, that was a whole.
I thought that's what Stephen was trying to say. He was saying.
Stephen was adding that, saying it's also possible that if you add all the texts, it can line up at the end.
Right.
Which I just think is bullshit anyway. But
yeah,
the main thing he was trying to say, what Billy meant to say, was that in Daniel, so forget about him saying this isn't a feature that doesn't happen in other Gospels. It's not, this isn't a feature. This is a feature we find in Daniel, a random book from the Old Testament. It's in the same manuscript, grant you.
Because there's Apocrypha that...
Because of the Apocryphal at the end, they left an extra 2 lines, two sections at the end.
Right.
Because they left the Apocryphal out.
Right.
So that means, and then I said to Stephen, Stephen, that makes it even worse. He's like, huh? Because then you're admitting that the longer ending of Mark is apocryphal. And he's like, yeah, you got a point.
But he has been okay with suggesting that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's this double speak happening amongst our friends, including Stephen.
Yeah.
And that is, okay, yeah, it's apocryphal, but seems like Justin Martyr quoted it early.
They all love it.
Like it might have actually been it might have been so early and apocrypha. And I'm like, dude, at
that point, everything's possible.
Yeah.
But the point is, Wes made so many errors in that video. That's why he took it down. And he's getting so big now. If that got out there today, that might be damaging right now.
Yeah.
The timing was bad for him. He was just on his uprise when we would our video.
Yeah, this is why he took it down, I think.
It's that's why if
reputation.
If any more attention gets to this video, that people might be like, dude, is this guy serious at all?
Again, emphasizing this apocryphal stuff, but Wes's reputation was on the line. He does not want that reputation to possibly be diminished. I think this is also why he's very careful about who he might debate, which I think there is a purposeful dodge, whatever he wants to say himself. Again, if you hear him in his calculated response about Alex's response and the way he dealt with that text you brought up earlier in this video from Alex's video showing the actual scholarly quote, then look at what back to Mark again, what Stephen is suggesting, and I heard him say, Mark, the guy who's like Peter's companion writing down his sermons, added that ending. So he is believing that long ending in Mark was inserted later by Mark.
Right.
Now, think about this. If we grant that, you're going to tell me that the guy who traveled or was writing down Peter's words, that these are trustworthy, authentic, added apocrypha?
He just asserts that as if it's a fact that
it's his particular
presupposed. But that's the thing. You're refuting me though.
Yeah.
So are you presupposing that I believe this too? This is tradition that comes in 4th century text.
This is what
Eusebius is the one that tells us that Peter traveled with Mark.
Right. Papias seems to imply. So this gets into weird.
There might be other people.
Yeah. I'm just making the point that he thinks that Mark himself, if you grant that Mark really was there with Peter writing these things down from Mark 1 to all the way to 16:8, he wrote that as if this is like historically bona fide, trustworthy kind of stuff, right? It's just not in the right chronology or something like that to that effect, I think Papias mentions. But that added on Apocrypha, Mark added that in later after the document ended at 16:8. He added the long ending somewhere early, which is why Justin quotes it, and it's mentioned in Irenaeus, and it gets a quote by here.
By the way, that quote from Justin was nonsense.
Nah, it's
You
nonsense.
and I debunked that pretty good.
I think so.
We showed it on the screen from the article that they were talking about, that guy, whatever his name is. I can't remember his name anymore.
The one about the calculated end. Yeah.
Yeah. We showed Snap's article on the screen, which, by the way, is not a peer-reviewed article. It's not from a journal. This is just a blog, basically. Everyone cites this thing. It's from a theological web page. It's not a journal. It's not PhD stuff. This guy doesn't even have a PhD. He's a bachelor's in something, I forgot, and he's a pastor. This is who wrote this. I'm just trying to tell you.
Yeah, you're being honest.
And so we go to his article that everyone keeps citing as if it's like some PhD peer-reviewed paper. It's not. And then we look at his quote, and then it says, first the quote from Justin Martyr is like, oh, and then the disciples dispersed and from Jerusalem.
Yeah, they went it's the Great Commission
and then
kind
even
of.
Stephen pointed out, if this is from Mark, they would have dispersed from the Galilee, not Jerusalem.
Right.
Sounds more like Matthew. We were already leaning that way anyway.
Yeah.
We're like, this could be from any of the Gospels. Why are we assuming
Or
it's from
Luke,
Mark?
'cause-
They disperse in Luke too.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, and then Snap's next paragraph was, well, it is different, and there only is two Greek words that match. However, it's probably very, very likely that he just goes with his apologetic nonsense for the next. Anyways, we debunked that pretty quickly. But the point is like, that was Wes's argument, was like, and all the church fathers quote from this in the first century, in the second century, and he just never gives any quotes in the video. He just this is what I meant earlier when I was talking about Gavin has this advantage over his audience, where he can just say things, not show anything on the screen, not sort of back himself up. He just needs to say it, and then you just go, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Wes did in that video. Oh, they're all quoting from this in Justin Martyr, Papias, and Irenaeus, and never shows you any of it, never gives you the chance to decide for yourself if that's a quote or not. He just feeds you with it.
Well, the Irenaeus one's pretty explicit because he tells you, but again, as we pointed out, you find out we only have the living manuscript that's the evidence
There's a good
for
case
later.
to be made that that's an interpolation.
Well, Dr. Carrier, like I
Which
said,
is so common for
Dr.
Christians.
Carrier thought it was a commentary because they bleed the commentary right after the text in the writings. And some scribe who probably didn't recognize that it's not part of Mark kept that. You see what I'm saying?
From the 7th to the 11th century, the scribes were a bunch of zealous lunatics, because those manuscripts are all going back and fixing all the problems, especially with Christmas. I found this out from talking to No Theft, that from the 7th to 11th centuries, scribes were going back and inserting December 25th in the text where it wasn't there. This is what the church has been doing for its total existence. It's rewriting its own past to fix the problems of the present.
Right.
And now we're dealing with it today, 2024, 2025 now.
Yeah.
We're still dealing with the same apologetic zealotry. Is that the right word? Zealotry?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say apologetics.
It's like
honestly.
when Wes and his buddy were praying and going before the video started, please, Lord, make us your tools to win. Like, why does he need you? He needs you to go out and lie? Wait, do you believe it because you are the one pushing the lies to make it true? Or do you believe it because it's true?
Right.
Why do you need to lie if it's so true? Right?
So your assessment, again, this recaps the whole thing. Wes is not, first of all, I've had scholars, and I'm not going to name names, tell me, he is not this bona fide expert who knows what he's talking about with this stuff. You really have to take his words cautious. I'm not the one who said it. Academics said it, but we've caught him doing things like this.
I think PhDs are getting watered down these days. There's more and more of these theological Bible studies degrees now, where it's just purely Bible studies PhDs. They used to think about PhDs 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
I don't know what happened to those. Now all of a sudden, there's just all PhDs, and none of these people know anything about history. They don't know anything. They're not learning languages as much. Maybe Wes knows a little bit of languages, but you and I know about a bunch of these PhDs.
Right.
We're just being honest. There's a lot of PhDs out there who don't know anything besides New Testament and some Old Testament.
Right.
They don't know about. They couldn't name the first 5 Caesars of the Roman Empire.
Right.
They don't know like when the Seleucid Empire reigned. Like they don't know like basic 101 history stuff of the time period that they're studying. You're studying a time period.
Yeah.
We're studying the Old Testament time period.
It's not isolated away from the rest of the world.
Yeah, you should know what happened between the Iron Age and the Hellenistic period, and then for New Testament studies, you should know the early Common Era up until late antiquity.
Of Greco-Roman and Jewish thought. Because
you
if you don't
should have a basic understanding of what's going on here. Some people have zero understanding of that.
So I wonder if it's schooling. Clearly, certain schools obviously have a better program than other schools. Some are.
It is. It is exactly what it is.
Yeah, and when you have a school that
and by the way, I'm not talking about all scholars at all.
Right. No. I know what you mean. Yeah. Like when you have a school that actually gears programs toward apologetics.
Yeah.
Bro.
You get these Wes Huff types.
Or signing off a faith waiver. Bro, get out of my face. Like, I just have no interest.
That's still going on today.
I know.
We still have colleges to this very day. I want people to understand this. That are giving out PhDs to people as long as they sign a waiver that says, I believe in Jesus Christ, the Father, who was born of a virgin, and is the God, and is a Trinity, basically.
Yeah, don't do Unitarianism.
Like, we've seen screenshots of these documents.
Absolutely.
And they still exist today.
The faith waiver.
And these people are getting called doctor. Doctor such and such. Can you tell me what you think about the gospel? I think it's true. Here's why. And then this is someone who signed a waiver. A statement of faith waiver is giving you their professional PhD opinion, and it's going out on the internet, and it's affecting everything.
Yeah.
That's what you and I are up against.
Not only that, dude, this is the same problem that happens in Islamic studies.
Yeah.
I talk to
many doctors in Islam now.
Bro, there's so many secular critical Western academics that I've talked to, and some are even Muslim, but they're secular critical. Harvard.
And they're not allowed to say anything critical.
They have to be careful. Yeah. They get emails from people in much more conservative academic institutions that are closer to the Middle East and stuff all the time criticizing them because they're pushing beyond the narrative that is the standard, what you're allowed to accept.
It's designed to uphold the dogma. It's the sad truth about religious studies. There is so much in religious studies, so much funding that goes into it from churches and mosques that is designed to uphold the dogma, to keep sacred history alive.
Yeah.
And then it's used in political situations, then it's used in wars. It goes all the way up, it floats all the way up to the top.
Right.
It does.
So here, let's...
It's like a gas, it just floats up.
I think this is an important point that you and I should probably address because someone goes, okay, dude, you've poked holes, you're jabbing, you're critical, you're doing nothing but destroying these narratives. You're tearing down these apologetics. What then? Well, that's where the fun begins. Because now we can actually explore this stuff without the dogma. And Neil, let me ask you a question. How fun is it to you when you find out, example, that Homer's Odyssey and Iliad, much of it is orally done by people who've been quoting it and regurgitating these narratives since the Bronze Age, that it had an earlier mythic trope in the Hittite traditions, and that the Greeks are actually influenced by earlier storytellings of a giant war of a great city from the Hittites, and that the Greeks ended up hitting.
Hittites and Ahiyawa.
What does that do to your brain?
Homer calls them the Achaeans, but if you went back to the Bronze Age, you would hear Ahiyawa.
What does that do to you when you think about and you see that?
I love it.
But it's not a dogma.
No.
Like you can freely just enjoy this stuff and there is no stipulations, no group
thing. It's easier to enjoy when you don't have dogma.
You're having a blast now.
Yeah.
Much more fun than you ever did studying ancient history and Bible.
I would argue I love the Bible more than they do. I would honestly argue that.
Yeah, I believe it. Now now here's the thing, they put their identity in it.
Yeah. So
when we're attacking critically, yeah, but when we are critical of it, they feel like it's an attack on themselves. And clearly we are being critical of some of the people because they're doing shenanigans.
I think they are attacking themselves. Attacking their own self-worth by lying to yourself.
Reminds me of Dr. Price when he was doing that one speech and he talked about the mind of the apologist and he's like, why is the apologist at war? He's at a war with himself.
Yeah.